Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Inflation has made a huge step in the right direction, but where is the economy headed? Are there more things to worry about than just inflation? Let's look at the current data so you can know what's going on in the economy and we can prepare for the future. Let's get into it. As you'll notice in a lot of my other videos, we talk a lot about where jobs are. Unemployment is historically low. It's at 3.5% and that's great. Unfortunately, the Fed doesn't intend to keep it there. Based on their last economics projections report, we saw that they actually want to get unemployment up to around 4.5% by this year end. That's terrible for the economy, but that's where they want to have it. In order for unemployment to get to that point of 1 million people losing their jobs, there's a few things that need to happen. Number one, inflation needs to start going down, and it has. And number two, the Fed needs to increase interest rates, which they have been for about the last year. With these two things, unemployment can finally start to go up and the Fed's going to make that happen. Now, let me explain. Presented in mid-January, we saw CPI, which was at 6.5%. And comparing that to June, things are looking really good and that they're moving in the right direction. Unfortunately, we need to be looking at something else as well. The other thing we need to be looking at is wage growth, which was at just 4.6%, which is way below inflation. Unfortunately, that's even lower than in December, which was around 5% for the whole year of 2022. So why is this so bad? Most of you will realize that this is actually causing wage deflation. It's making each paycheck you're getting worth less and less. And although economists are saying that inflation is going down, most people are feeling that their money is getting less and less valuable. They're able to buy less and less goods. And at the end of the day, if people can't buy more goods and they're buying less goods, it's making the economy worse. This problem isn't looking to get better anytime soon. And that's because as unemployment rises, and that's currently what the Fed wants, we're going to see wage growth decrease. Right now, the labor market is very tight. People can fight and negotiate for better wages. Unfortunately, that might not be the case in the future. If unemployment continues to rise to 4.5%, there will be an increased number of people that are willing to work for a less competitive wage. And that's simply because they need to be able to pay their bills and support their families. If this happens, that employers start to get more power than the employees, they're going to start paying people less simply because they can. The goal for corporations is to make profit for their shareholders, not to make sure everyone can afford to live. Unfortunately, that's just the society we live in. And right now, what we're seeing is that employees have a lot of power, but I think that's going to change very quickly here in the near future. So be prepared for that. As employees are able to afford less and less goods, that makes a real damper on the economy. Now, one thing to note is that the Federal Reserve has all of this information. They know this stuff and they're expecting this to happen. They actually want it to happen. Unfortunately, they're really focused on inflation, which I agree is a big problem. And they're going to let unemployment rise because they think if they fix inflation now, it's actually going to help everything come into balance in the long term. So make sure to leave a comment and let me know if you think the Fed's doing the right thing. Should they be so worried on inflation that they let unemployment rise? Let me know in the comments. And with the Federal Reserve, they're actually working to try and figure out if they're going to raise rates by 0.25% or 0.5%. And there's a lot of disagreement there. We've heard some Fed presidents come out this past week and say that they really want to raise rates by 0.5%, and others are stating that they're in favor of a 0.25% increase. One thing to note on that is Wall Street has priced in a 0.25% increase. And the reason that there's so much dissonance on this is because of China and the current oil prices and what that's going to do to the economy. But that's a whole nother video, and we'll probably have a video on that sometime in the next 2 weeks. Overall though, it doesn't matter if the Fed raises rates by 0.25% or 0.5%. If they raise them 0.25%, the market's going to say this is great and the Fed's actually pumping the brakes and they're not going to get to that 5% threshold. On the other hand, if they raise them 0.5%, the market's going to freak out. There's going to be a mass sell-off and they're going to say that the Fed is going way too fast and they're getting way out of control. Either way though, if you're a long-term investor, it doesn't matter, and here's why. It's because it matters what the Fed eventually gets to, if they get above that 5% threshold and how long they hold it at that rate for. If they hold it at that rate for a really long time, that's going to cause a lot of pain for the economy. It's going to make unemployment shoot up. On the other hand, if they hit that rate for a couple months and then drop it back down, that's not going to affect the economy nearly as much. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Again, if we see jobs start to go away and we see unemployment rise, that's when it's time to start panicking. I've said this in other videos and I'm going to continue to say it. Make sure you're looking at the jobs reports that come out on Fridays. Also, make sure you're looking at unemployment numbers. With knowing all of this information and what's going to happen in the next upcoming weeks, if you think the stock market is just too volatile for you to invest in, check out this video right here. It's going to talk about I-bonds. It's a risk-free investment for you and you're going to get a good rate of return. But if you wait until the end of that video, you'll see other places to put your money to get a good rate of return for a longer period of time. Otherwise, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll catch you in the next one.